Welcome to the Everything After podcast. I'm Rob, and I'm joined today by Rodis, Melissa Koehl, and Dan Lutger of Panther Style, a rock band out of Chicago that I've been eager to talk with. Panther Style really is the epitome of what Everything After is all about, resurgence and revival. Formed nearly 20 years ago, the band last year released its first new music in more than 13 years with a 4-track EP and the title single Dynasty. Their sound is influenced by bands as varied as The Cult, Fugazi, The Posies, Big Star, New Order, and early Van Halen, blending bright harmonies with thick, distorted guitars. The band members, who also include founding member Jeanne McClure, have been in other bands with incredibly original names like Mary Tyler Morphine, Dyslexic, Apaches, Reptoids, and the Little Man Complex. Thanks for being on the podcast, guys.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This EP, Dynasty, is fantastic. Particularly, the title track seems to me to reflect a struggle that I think everyone can relate to right now, striving to hold on to our identities, what makes us who we are amidst the seemingly ever-increasing tumult of the world. It feels to me like reassurance and affirmation, like the lyric, it says, something's always the same, as you are. Will we be safe when it comes, when the world is over and done? Maybe, maybe not, but what we can control is how we face it as our unique and unflinching selves. Of course, that's just my interpretation of it. Can you share what inspired these songs and inspired you to record them?
Yeah, I mean, we've never really stopped. For one,
Yeah,
we just take our time. We're friends first, and so our friendships and our lives come first, and then we do this thing together that we really cherish, and we're also about quality over quantity. It just takes whatever time it takes, and so 13 years is a very long time, but there's also been a very many number of things that have happened to each one of us individually, and so part of that inspiration for writing is exactly that. It's right. Some days are darker than others, but there's always sunlight that will happen eventually. That's probably especially what we were thinking of when we wrote Dynasty.
yeah. So tell me about your band and how you got started. Tell me about what each of you do for the band and talk about that friendship and how it formed and how it's sort of sustained through all these years that you've been making music.
Al, you want to?
Yeah, I can start. So Dan and I have known each other since we were 19, and we played in bands together for a long time. And that kind of ran its course. And speaking for myself, I didn't play music for quite a long time after that. And then coming back to it, I always wanted to form a band again. And Dan was really the only person that I really wanted to play with from a band standpoint, from a drumming standpoint. And so it took us a little while to get together, but we did. Kind of went from there. Jeanne and I had played in a band together, a friend of ours, so we knew each other from that. And then Dan and Melissa, you guys were dating at that point, right?
Yeah.
And that's how the kind of core came together many years ago.
Yep.
Where does Panther Style come from, the name of the band?
Well, it was supposed to be Sex Panther was the first joke name. We're just spitballing names of bands, and that one kind of stuck. It was one we knew it couldn't really be the band name. But also, we kept just defaulting to that because we couldn't think of anything better at the time.
Yeah.
Until finally we're okay, we can't actually be called Sex Panther. I just really wanted to be called that. And then you just came up with it one day.
We were
in space.
Yeah, we were in the space, just spitballing hardcore, and it just popped out of my mouth. And then we all whoop, that's it.
Yeah. So some of these other bands that you've been involved in, I listed off some of these unique band names. Are all these bands that you've come across with in the Chicago music scene? Can you talk a little bit about some of your Chicago music heritage, where each of you come from, and maybe what some of the other styles you've played in, and what some of these other bands were like, and how much of that you bring to Panther Style?
Let's start with your Apaches.
Yeah, sure. So Al and I, as you mentioned, we're in a band called Dyslexic Apaches in the East. We were just weird. We were a rock band, heavy rock band, but we were also a little funky. Our bass player, Mike Sinnecrack, was just an incredible bass player, and he's almost a guitarist, really. And so we just ripped off each other, and we were very improvisational. That's how we wrote, was just total improv. But we also had improv moments in our songs. So we were just this. We don't even know what we are even today. But we had a really good run in the early '90s. We got swept up with all the other bands. We opened up for the Pumpkins and played Metro, and we got to play with all the bands of the day, and also see all those bands and live that experience, which is something I just absolutely cherish. You didn't know it at the time in the early '90s in Chicago, going to see the Pumpkins before Siamese broke and stuff. Everyone was so good. You just kind of thought like, oh, this is what a rock scene is. But little did we know it was just an absolute, nuclear bomb ready to explode. And it was such an incredible time. Obviously, we bring a lot of that energy from that experience to the band. Al, you could probably talk too about.
Yeah, just to expand on that, I mean, yes, to your point, it was a very special time for music in Chicago at that time. But again, the scene hasn't gone away. Bands are still playing, and there's always bands starting and stuff. We've gotten the chance to make friends with bands over the years and play with a lot of them even now. And to still be in it after all these years, for the love of the game. I mean, we're not, by any stretch going to drop everything and go on tour and try to make a living out of it. It's really just about, again, the friendship piece that Dan touched on earlier and the connection that we share with making music, which is really special to all four of us. And that really is what it's about now, is just having this creative outlet, which I feel fortunate to have with these other three fine folks. And we get to, come together and practice and play shows and record music, put it out. And it's something that for me is very special. And I'm glad I have that.
Yeah. So, Dan, you mentioned you talked about the 90s and you mentioned the Pumpkins. Are you talking Smashing Pumpkins? Is that what you?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. What are some of the other bands that you shared the stage with or over the years? Or what are some of those experiences? Can you share some stories about that? Some of the bands you've met, the band members you've met?
I'll probably have a better memory than me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Blue Meanies was a big one.
Yeah, Triple Fast Action. We
Triple
played
Fast
shows
Action.
with them. And, more than just the bands, but also the venues that we played back in the day that there were a lot of fun clubs to play and also go see shows at. And fortunately, we had the chance to play places like Thurston's and Lounge X and Elbow Room and the China Club and stuff like that, where those clubs aren't around anymore. But
Avalon.
Yeah, Avalon.
Yeah.
That was a big one for us. So, again, it was a special time, and it still continues, right? There's still rock clubs out there booking local bands, and there's still a scene. There's still bands out there, working it, and feel fortunate and glad to be part of that as well. Still to this day.
Yeah. So what are some of those clubs and venues you think that are doing it right today that have emerged? You said some have kind of faded. Unfortunately, we lose some of that over the years. That's just the way life goes, I guess. It's unfortunate. But you found some other places to play, some other venues, some other clubs. What are some ones that you think are doing it right in Chicago?
Reggie's is great. Reggie's is great. They've been great with us. Livewire is another venue that's been great with us.
Yeah.
And these clubs have been around for a long time as well. Beat Kitchen, Empty Bottle.
Yeah, we played Empty Bottle back in the day with the Apaches that never stopped being just the heart of the whole city. They talk about a club that does it well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're consistently been good for a long time. One of our favorite places to play, for sure.
Burlington's a cool place.
Burlington's good. Sub T.
Yeah, something. Yep.
So do you play mostly in the Chicago scene, or are you planning to get out anywhere or go on any kind of tour?
I mean, we don't have big plans, but we're not opposed. If something happens, of course, we'd love to play anywhere that would have us. But we mostly focus here in Chicago, just because, like I said, we're just doing our thing, know. And there's so many wonderful clubs. We're just happen to be planted in literally probably the best rock city in the entire world. So it's not that we don't want to go outside, but like we have everything we need here in Chicago. It's
right.
Like Melissa's saying, we probably forgot eight clubs that we've been playing at.
And backyards.
Backyard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We've played all sorts of weird places.
Yeah.
No, Chicago music scene is fantastic. Yeah, you got what you need. That makes a lot of sense. But if we were to manifest something right now, you said, I mean, being open to whatever. I mean, I think that's the best thing you can do is just sort of be open to what happens and what comes, right? But if you were to manifest something, a tour, what's a band or, if there are a couple of them that you would just love to be attached to, to be an opener for, or that you think would just really blend well with the music that you do and with your style that would just be really sort of synergetic with everything.
Oasis would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be amazing. Failure is another one. They're still touring. That would be incredible. Failure or Teenage Wrist, you know those guys.
Yeah.
So those are like top three. But
A lot of people would like to
the
be
Gallagher
attached to that
brothers
Oasis
were
tour.
here.
Every band in the world wants to be on it. But we genuinely do kind of fit.
Right? Come on.
Or like Queens of Stone Age would be another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Failure
Yeah.
and I think Failure and Teenage Wrist though are realistically
Yeah.
like what we would drop everything to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good points for sure.
So if they're watching,
Legend would be another dream one.
In a smaller scale, what are some of the Chicago bands that you guys are really close with, really good friends with, that you would, you know, maybe hop on a tour with, that you might share a bill with or something like that? You want to shout anybody out from Chicago?
That's a good question. We actually struggle a bit finding bands that we fit well with here in the city. We do have a lot of friends though, and we would probably do this and jump on.
Yeah, there's a band called Black Rose Hotel
just
Yeah.
mention.
who are really good friends of ours, and we played with them before. And the Atlas Moth is another band, so
Yeah.
those two, you know, Yakuza. We definitely do stuff with them in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Cool.
Sun Volume we've played with a couple times. Those guys are really cool.
Some
too.
volume.
Yeah.
The artist formerly known as
Yeah.
Mix.
We kind of end up in bills that are like the other rock bands that don't sound like, but it's like close enough of a fit. Whereas
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, if you paired us with Failure, like that would make perfect sense in terms of the type of music. And then the other bands that we're friends with around here, it's like it's different. You know, either they're heavier than us or the opposite, or we're just like somehow
Too punk.
I'm bad at just it's like we don't quite fit neatly into one genre.
Yeah.
Which is a
other than rock, but it's
Yeah.
kind of generic. But
It's a blessing and a
Yeah.
curse.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your fan base there. Shout out some fans that you have super fans. I'm sure you've been playing the scene for quite a long time. Talk about some of your fans that show up at your shows.
It's
Are they
random.
excited about this new music? I mean, you put out an EP. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. We have a whole record on the shelf that's like 95% done.
Oh yeah.
We're super excited about it. It's our best music. So we're playing some of it live, but not I think the very best stuff we haven't even played live. So we're really excited. I mean, more than excited to get this up and get it out.
When's that going to come out?
soon.
I'd love to get a listen to it in advance if you wouldn't mind. That'd be great.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So what's the reaction been like? What's the reception been to this new music?
From judging from like we've gotten back into playing shows in the last couple of years. So in the last couple of years, we played three, four shows a year, and it's been great. And it's like we never left. You know, people are coming, which is really fortunate and grateful for it. And the reaction's been great. You know, we're playing a mix of, well, I guess people don't know the difference between old and new stuff, but we're playing a mix of all of that. And judging from, you know, the reactions we're getting, it's been pretty positive. And the shows have been a lot of fun, and just thankful for people coming out and enjoying it.
Yeah,
it's been
awesome.
good.
Yeah. Strangers asking for autographs, us to sign the records and stuff. It's been a long time since they've like that's happened. But that's a good sign.
Right. We've had some people like drive from Michigan, Ohio, you know, from pretty far distances to see us live, which is always like really an honor. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And having that video that we just put out, well, not just fairly recently, the video for Dynasty, our friend Yeva Dushevsky did like such a knock-up killer job with it.
It's a great video. It really is.
It helped us expand our audience. It's just, everyone it just gets so much more attention. Like, really good video.
Yeah, it's very cinematic. It's very well done. Just tight. The kind of music video, you know, that would get a lot of play. MTV would just play music videos and stuff, you know. It feels like a throwback. It's got that style to it.
That was all Yeva's vision. She had an idea for it, and, you know, it was a pleasure to work with her on it, and we couldn't be happier with how it turned out. So, yeah. It's all her.
Yeah, Yeva Dushevsky, she's absolutely incredible.
Uberly talented.
Yeah.
She mostly does more cinematic filmmaking. That's her bread and butter. She isn't like strictly music videos, although she loves to do that. But you can obviously tell that's her wheelhouse is film, very like stylized and super creative. Like, we just can't shower her with enough love for the amount of attention she put on that video. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, she's very high level.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a track off this new album or off, you know, that you is from your library that you love playing live more than anything else that you always have to play live, that you think it's a really great live response from a crowd? And you can answer that individually.
Good question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dynasty's been pretty well received. So we've been opening with it and we're playing it early. And it's kind of like these guys are, they're not just like the usual kind of thing. I think it hits people unexpected.
Yeah.
It seems to, at least. And then we get, after the show, I get a lot of feedback.
Yeah, and our music it's pretty varied. There's a lot of heavy stuff, there's a lot of dancey stuff, there's a lot of real dynamic stuff. So there's a good mix for people to take in, and for us as musicians to play. It's a lot of fun mixing it up like that. So Dynasty's a good one, like Dan was saying. There's another track called Midtown, which is a little more mid-tempo and a lot of fun to play. So yeah, there's a good mix of dynamics in each song for us as musicians to enjoy playing, and hopefully the crowd and folks that come out dig it too.
Yeah.
There's like the heavier ones that end on like Al wailing on a solo, like in Butt Ump, and the instrumental for sure.
Yeah.
We could solo at the end, just really, really heavy, like our heaviest songs. Those always get a good reaction too.
Yeah.
But then the real quiet stuff, sometimes stuff even like our Fingers Crossed, which is kind of, it's not a ballad, but it's slower. That also gets like a great response too. So I think having that nice mix where it's not just all one note, the whole set.
Yeah.
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 Helps a lot.
It's a roller coaster. Fingers Crossed, going from instrumental, which is almost metal, to Fingers Crossed, which is really sweet. But what's beautiful about Fingers Crossed is like when the solo starts, we're swelling. Melissa is doing this amazing atmosphere guitar work, and then Al goes into a solo. And I love just absolutely playing that song. Like, I'll play that song anytime I'm asked to play it. And it's just so different without being, I don't know, recognizable as being true. This is just solid rock, or this is whatever.
Yeah. Now, do you have a song that you like to cover in a show, like that you just love to put your own spin on?
We love covers.
Yeah, many.
Yeah, like what's like, again, individually, do you have a song that you just love to play, to cover, to like put your own sort of Panther style on?
Yeah, on the Dynasty EP, there's a cover of Love Removal Machine by the Cult.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all big Cult fans. And, in Chicago, I'm sure as in many cities, there's a lot of Halloween shows where bands will play a set by another band. So we played many Halloween set as a Cult. So we are definitely into them.
We're Uber fans. Another band we would drop everything to tour with, but farther than that, we would love to just back up the band. We want to be the Cult.
We can be
band.
the Cult. Yeah.
Yeah, we could
hire us to
Yes.
get Ian Astbury.
Yeah.
And we'll just like add to their current,
Yes.
and just put us in.
That's the best
you could
idea.
hire us tomorrow. We know the songs.
We know songs.
We're ready.
We go to every time they play. We go to every show. And every single time we're like, that should be us. We would rock it out so much harder.
I love putting stuff out there and manifesting stuff. So you guys are putting it out there in the world. So we'll see if it happens. That'd be great.
Ian, Billy.
Yeah. Get us. What else? Oh, we also covered Blind Eyes Open by the Posies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
put that out on there was like a compilation EP CD that came out way back when we first started. It was all different bands covering different Posies songs. And our rendition of the Cult song is like it sounds a lot like the Cult. Like we didn't deviate too far from, we're like, let's not change it too much. It's good. It's great how it is. We'll just rock it as hard as we can. But the Posey song, we changed pretty significantly. Yeah. We added a solo at the end. There wasn't one, and all this extra bit stuff to it.
We went crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, do you ever blend like some cover in with like one of your originals? Do you ever kind of like, are there any of the covers that just really mesh well with some of your original
stuff? That will happen. We're working on something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a
section
of a song. Yeah, there's a section of a song that sounds like another big band, and I directly stole one of the riffs from one of their songs.
All right.
We're gonna.
But no one would catch it. You wouldn't catch it. Like
no, you wouldn't
all the
catch
stuff
it.
Layered on it, and then but when we pull over to.
We're gonna point it out
when we do.
Yeah.
Now it'll be so obvious. It'll blow people's minds too because it doesn't sound like that band at all.
Oh, that's awesome.
See where it's from.
It'll
I love
happen.
the teaser.
It's gonna
That's
be
great.
a lot of fun.
We're working on it. Yeah.
Very cool.
So
are your songs off this EP off Dynasty? Are they going to go on the full album, or is this all new music that's coming out soon?
Probably the first two. The first Dynasty probably for sure. But we have like still 9 other songs. So we still have we could release it without any of those songs. We're not sure what to do. We might trip them out one by one.
Yeah.
Because like there's no rules anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dynasty was recorded in the same sessions as those others that Dan had just mentioned. So to that point, to Dan's point, yeah, it could be, EP releases as and when we finish them, because they still are in various states of work, meaning they need to be, mixed and mastered, or some even finished, right? So as we get done and the timing works out, then we'll release it.
Very cool. Now, does the new album have a title yet?
Yeah, Panther style. Well, that's what the working title is.
Oh, is it self-titled?
We're gonna self-title it.
We're talking about a self-title.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know it's like picking your children, but do you have a favorite song off the new album?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I could say that.
Yeah, it's yet to be officially named, but it's not one that we play live or finished yet.
Yeah. What else can you tease out about this new album? Like, what stands out? Is there a running theme through it? What are we in for?
It's a good question. I mean, I think Melissa stands out on it more so than the previous record. I think she really brings, like I say, her atmosphere. Her guitar playing is something to behold. I just can't wait for the world to.
That's too much, but it is more complex. I will say there's more layers with the guitar work in general with Al and I, and then also with you and Jeanne on the rhythm section, like just how well you've evolved as a
that's
team,
true.
like how well you guys play and write together.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's so like I sometimes I'll see other bands playing, like the bass player and the drummer are not even looking at each other, and I'm like, how does it even work? Because you guys are so intimately like writing those parts together, making sure that everything is perfectly matched and fits exactly, not what just you guys think would sound good for your own parts, but what sounds best with the whole song. So I just feel like it's like 2.0 Panther Style 2.0. It's what we were. We're the same concept, same vibes, just like evolved.
Yeah, and to add on top of that, it sounds great. We recorded it at Electrical Audio in their A studio. With the drum room's amazing, so we got some really killer drum sounds. And Greg Norman, who produced it and recorded it, had done a killer job. And the stuff that we had gotten out in the world already was mixed by Marshall from Teenage Wrist. So he's done a great job with the mixing of it and brought a bunch of ideas to us, which made a lot of sense during the mixing process. So yeah, from sonically speaking, it sounds fantastic, and we're really excited to get it out there. Just even for that point as well.
Yeah, when we recorded Emergencia, we were just a baby band. All those songs came together really fast. We went right into the studio and recorded everything, and obviously were gelling, and we were really enjoying what we were writing, and it just was really natural. But like to Melissa's point, through the years, like I said earlier, we never stopped. We just kept practicing and writing, and just like really writing to a fine tune, and at the same time just learning how to play off each other. And so I think we're a totally different band when we recorded Emergencia. So it's Dynasty gives you a good sneak peek, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being together and having this sort of lasting friendship and over the years and continuing to play together and things like that. I mean, it's something that it's something that bands aspire to, obviously, to have that connection like you do. And so I'm just curious, like, how you feel like you've matured as a band as a result of the friendship, like what you've learned about each other, how you've learned to play together. I would imagine that's why you feel like this is the best music you've ever put out, is because you have that history together, and it's just sort of like formed this richness. But if you could speak to that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think you articulated it pretty well right there, man. That's really well put. We've been friends for a long time, in families and celebrations and, ups and downs and all that stuff. So, as Dana mentioned at the beginning of the interview, it's, we're friends first, and the music's a really great byproduct of that. So, it's been a great journey, and we're going to keep going and keep writing more new music, and keep appreciating each other as friends and mutual admirers for each other's musical ability. So it's really a really fantastic situation, and I'm just glad to be part of it. Happy, grateful.
Yeah, I think because we are so close, like we keep a tradition of our Christmas. We always have Christmas dinner together, just stuff like that. We always celebrate each other's birthdays. The music, it has become so personal, so like if you're a solo songwriter and you write a song and it means everything to you, the way we write when we're done with the song, all four of us feel that same personal connection to the song. We're not writing Al's song and then we're going to write Melissa's song. We're Panther style. We write songs fully as a band, and what is born out of that is absolutely personal to the four of us.
Comfortable and easy to discuss those things. Like it's never a battle of like, I want this and you want that. And there's, when there's disagreements, we get through them pretty easily. And it's just, we just very easily land on like, well, this is what's best for the song. This, it's usually not about egos. That's like never, we're old enough that that's not even something to consider. It's just like, what's going to sound best. And it's really like pretty seamless to be able to pull that out of each other. It's almost like just understood that we're going to just do what feels best for the song in general, even if that means my part is super simple and doesn't sound fancy or on its own. It's like, what is this? Everyone knows that's the way it's going to be. That sounds good. We agree on it.
What's best for the song?
Really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Now, when you get together for these things, like you said, like birthdays and Christmases and barbecues and all that sort of thing, do they inevitably turn into some kind of impromptu concert, or do you kind of like rest your voice and you do that, or like do you feel like when you're together that you have to be making music or playing music, or
No, not at all, man. I mean, it's
do other people expect that? Like if they come, they're like, oh, well, Panther Style's going to be there, so there's obviously going to be some kind of concert at some point, right?
Should start doing that. Have an a cappella thing that we could do.
Shop songs. It might be the opposite. I think people might not expect or suspect that we're going to.
Well, we're so loud. We're a really loud band, so we're amplified. So for us to for people to expect us to show up and just play would be really weird.
So you don't just have your instruments just like in the back of the car just in case kind of thing.
We just tried doing acoustic style for this podcast. This is the first time ever.
We have to actually rework a few of the songs because as we played them, we're like, we got to our standards. We're like, no, we need to tweak a few things to make sure it sounds okay, John. But we would think so to make these loud songs sound nice.
Yeah.
In a like lo-fi, low volume setting, which I think they will. We just have to change how we play it.
Well, we'll do that another time, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think you really get at the heart of a song when you can pick it apart like that and find a way to play it differently, to play it quiet. There's something that I think is revealed about a song when you can take something that you normally play at a high volume and bring it down and simplify it and make it quiet. So I'd be really interested to hear that if we could make that happen another time. I'm so into that.
I think that'd be great. And we did have a couple of practices where we did play at lower volume to make it work. And to your point, we were able to do some things a little differently, and it sounded cool.
Yeah.
And Melissa's point in trying to adjust things to compensate for the loud volume, covering up all mistakes. It was a little challenging, but I'll speak for myself, obviously. It was fun, and I'm looking forward to us doing it with you. So. Yeah,
that'd be great. Whenever you're ready, let me know. We'll hop on and do that. I'd be super excited to do that. Now I'm going to ask you to be relatable because you have something, like I said, that people and musicians and bands aspire to. And you've talked about some really great stuff, playing some really great clubs and venues, sharing the stage with some amazing artists. And I'm going to ask you to be a little relatable and talk about a time when something didn't go right, and share a funny story or something, even just like a touch embarrassing or something. Like what you've been together for a long time, you've got to have stories like that.
Yeah, a pretty big thing happened at the last show we played, and this was this guy's fault.
It was. Yeah, so I forgot Jean's bass to bring Jean's bass to our last show, and we didn't figure it out till right before soundcheck. Luckily, the club wasn't that far away, and also luckily we were friends with Rodis, so it worked out. But it was like that thing that happens in movies where the background proceeds as the camera comes in. Like I had that feeling, like, oh my god, what? I was so stupid, But it was fine. It could have been really bad because we were opening too.
Yeah.
So the doors were going to open regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty crazy, but it worked out.
It was a minute. It was stressful, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, as a musician playing in bands for a really long time, I've cleared many rooms, you know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of people there and a couple songs in the set like nobody's there, so that's always a fun experience, and you gotta have fun with that kind of stuff too. So
Or being told to turn down and then you actually turn.
yeah, there's a lot of you gotta turn down. I'm not gonna turn down.
We've been pretty lucky though to avoid
Yeah.
this Spinal Tap stuff that usually happens at every band.
Nothing bad. Yeah, a couple other random stuff like getting shocked in the face with a microphone. That happens here and there. Different
Oh,
clubs,
yeah.
they're not wired properly. That can happen, especially if you're playing and with pedals and there's just a lot of electronics going on. You can suddenly get zapped in the face. And
That's no fun.
always very jarring.
Yeah. Have you ever had to stop a set because of something like that, an equipment malfunction, or like you said, like a
Show must go on.
Yeah.
always
I
goes on?
don't think
Just
so.
stop. I chipped
Yeah, I
a
don't
tooth
think-
on a mic once too.
Jeez.
Yeah, our gear breaks. You just play through.
Yeah.
Like my paddle broke, and so I just used my 4-tom and faked it to find a way.
I think all of us have played with various illnesses of some sort, the flu, cold,
Mhm.
like just suck it up and make it happen somehow.
Yeah, I wish Jeanne was here. She taught us use it. So
Yeah.
Use it. That's
I
great.
gotta go to the bathroom or like you get a headache or whatever. She's just like, use it. And like
Right.
that's really been a big
Yeah.
driver whenever I show up to practice and I'm talking about something.
Right. Because she's
That's great
of all of us,
advice.
she has the most tour experience
Yeah.
for sure. Like her band, Mary Tyler Morphine, toured a ton in the 90s. They're like
Yeah.
a punk band and
They played all over the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
tons of bands.
They opened
So
for L7.
yeah.
They toured with L7.
She
Yeah.
has tons of road experience with just she could probably tell you a lot more interesting stories
Yeah.
than I have right now about bad stuff happening on stage. We've been pretty
I
lucky.
love that advice though. Use it. I think that's great advice for anybody. Like you're
Yeah.
something happens, just turn it into something. Take something negative and turn it into something positive. I mean, you
Right.
can do that as a band, as a musician, as a person anymore. Just turn it into something else. Use it. I think that's great.
It's really good. And she
Yeah.
always had good comebacks for like, show us your tits and that kind of stuff. Because it never happened really to us, to Panther style, or in my previous band, Reptoids, this was like thousands, which somehow that had phased out. But in the 90s, that was still happening.
Yeah.
She always had like really good.
Well, I was going to ask that too. Like if you've ever, because you're a loud band, I mean, like the energy coming off the stage, has it ever erupted in anything in the crowd? Have fans ever gotten too rowdy, or has things gotten out of control? People sort of mosh pitting and things like that?
Yeah, I don't recall anything like that.
No? All right. Well, that's good.
I think things have been pretty cool.
The last show we played at Reggie's was really cool because there was people like actually bouncing and dancing. They were just really animated.
Yeah.
So that's usually you get a lot of people that are paying attention, they're nodding their head, which is awesome. And that's for more than someone just standing in front of the band paying attention. At Reggie's, it felt different. It felt like people were like, oh,
hmm
I'm into it.
We get some dance. Like there are a lot of our songs have like a groove, like a dancey-ish kind of beat to it. So there's some dancing that happens too, for sure.
We'll have to work on emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you have people that sing back lyrics and things like that too? You got people that are familiar with your songs enough to like
Yeah.
sing back?
I can't see that well from.
Yeah. Well, you're the
Yeah.
drums. I've seen, especially our
I've
older
seen a little
songs,
bit.
like the stuff that we put out previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that always a rush?
Yep.
I mean, you people are familiar with your songs enough to sing them back to you. I mean, that's cool, right?
Totally.
It's a rush when just someone
Yeah.
comes up to you and says, good
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
And just people being there is
Yeah.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And you always you tend to have time for after the shows to talk to people and talk to fans and
That's
go to the merch and hang out and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to make
Yeah,
those
for sure.
connections and say thank you. Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah.
I love meeting new people at shows. It's
Yeah.
the best.
That's
Especially
awesome.
people are like willing to come up and say hi. Like
Huh.
I'm introvert. I'm shy. I like hardly go up to introduce myself to anybody. Like unless I really, really, really want to meet them. So the fact that someone would take the time to like introduce themselves to me, I take that as like, wow, that must have been really important to them to
Yeah.
come want to
Yeah.
talk to me.
Yeah,
a lot
for
of
sure.
shows are a lot of musicians too, so it's amazing when another musician comes up and says good show and you make more band friends. It's just the best.
Yeah, and then ultimately some of those conversations turn into nerdy gear talk, which is nice.
Gear talk. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Now, do you have some shows upcoming in the Chicago area that you want to shout out or say anything about?
Not at the moment. We're really focused on getting this record done finally. Unless we're asking the clubs, but like from spring to fall, it's all national bands touring. So there's not a lot of extra slots for local bands. So it's a good time for us to finish this record, come out strong in the winter, and if something comes up, if anyone out there wants us to play it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to hold you to it. You said soon we're going to get new music. We're going to get a new record out. We're going to hold you to that. We're going to be looking for that record. Guys, you guys are super, super cool. And thank you so much for doing this. It's been really fun talking to you, getting to know you. I'm definitely excited about new music. And like I said, if I can get a taste of it, a preview of it, I'd be super excited to hear some of it too. And I'd love to have you back when you're ready to play that song acoustically. As you fine tune it, let me know. We'll get you back on the podcast. Thanks so much for talking to me. It's been a real pleasure. You guys are awesome.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
You.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for doing this. Hi, I'm Dan Lutger from Panther Style.
Hi, I'm Al from Panther Style.
Hi, I'm Melissa from Panther Style, and our Everything After is our upcoming new record full of amazing new music, and you can get a taste of it with our EP Dynasty that has a killer video from our friend Yeva Deshevsky, and we're super excited for the new record coming out and for sharing this music in the video with you.
Hey, this is Scott Paris. I want to do a quick shout out for Every.Thing.After podcast.
And my ETA.
My ETA is.
And my ETA.
And our Everything After is.
Our Everything After.
And my ETA is.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I know you've been going through some stuff. I think we all have. And it's not all bad. But maybe there's enough of that you feel like putting something good back out in the world. Maybe you pick up a guitar or a camera. Maybe you decide to do a podcast or finally write that book. Maybe it's all of those things. It's not the things that happen to us that define us so much as everything after. And that's what we talk about on the Everything After podcast, where we have conversations with musicians and artists and filmmakers and writers, just creatives who are striving to keep their sanity by doing the things that they love and following their passions. If that sounds like you, we hope you'll join our Everything After community on Instagram. And like, listen, and subscribe to our podcasts that release weekly on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thanks for listening. Until the next thing.